Wait, Julian, let me stop you right there because what you just said literally changed how I think about my entire week. So you're telling me that when I was sitting in that crowded coffee shop yesterday and that barista started talking like a machine gun, it wasn't my English level that failed me. It was actually a psychological defense mechanism?
Precisely, Luna. You were experiencing what we call cognitive overload. Your brain perceived the speed of the speech as a chaotic threat, and it simply shut down the translation department to save energy. It's a survival tactic, not a linguistic failure. You didn't lose your English, you just lost your calm.
That is mind-blowing. Welcome back to Speak English with Luna, everyone. Today, we are joined by the brilliant Dr. Julian Vance, a specialist in communication psychology. We are diving deep into the absolute secret of understanding fast speakers. If you've ever felt like your brain turns into a heavy brick the moment a native speaker opens their mouth, this episode is for you. Julian, let's jump straight back into that moment in the cafe. Why does the speed feel so aggressive to a learner?
It feels aggressive because your brain is trying to catch every single individual word like a falling glass. But in English, words aren't separate objects. They are a flowing river. If you try to catch every drop, you drown. The secret isn't in hearing more, it's in fearing less.
I absolutely love that. The secret isn't hearing more, it's fearing less. But Julian, practically speaking, if I'm standing there and a native speaker says something that sounds like one long, scary noise, what is my first step to break the code? How do I actually start understanding?
The first step is to stop listening for words and start listening for music. In English, we use something called connected speech. This means we don't speak like a robot. We don't say, I am going to the store. We say, I'm going to the store. The words literally hug each other, Luna. They blend together to create a flow.
They hug each other. That is such a friendly way to put it. So if I understand the hug, I understand the sentence, even if I don't catch every tiny detail?
Exactly. It's about the rhythm. Think of it like a song. You don't need to know every single note to recognize a melody. If you can hear the stressed words, the words that carry the most emotion or information, your brain can automatically fill in the gaps. It's like a puzzle where you only need the corner pieces to see the whole picture.
This is so helpful. It's time for our first vocabulary checkpoint. Listeners, Julian used a great word, grasp. To grasp something means to understand it firmly, like catching a ball with your hand. He also mentioned clusters. A cluster is a group of things, in this case, a group of words that sound like one. I want to ask everyone listening right now, what is one English phrase that you still find impossible to grasp because it's too fast? Write it in the comments. We want to see your scary phrases.
That's a great exercise, Luna. Admitting what we don't know is the first step towards success. Remember, even native speakers miss things sometimes. We just don't panic about it.
That is such a powerful perspective, Julian. The secret isn't hearing more, it's fearing less. But I want to really dig into the how. Many of our listeners are at a stage where they know the grammar, they have a decent vocabulary, but the moment they face a fast speaker, especially in a professional setting or a lively social gathering, their confidence just evaporates. You mentioned that this is psychological. Can you tell us a story from your own experience? Was there a moment when even you, as a communications expert, felt overwhelmed by the speed of language?
Oh, absolutely, Luna. It happens to the best of us. I remember many years ago, early in my career, I was invited to a high-level symposium in London. Now, even though I am a native speaker of American English, the environment was incredibly intimidating. I was surrounded by experts from Scotland, Australia, and various parts of England, all speaking at an incredible pace, using local idioms and academic jargon that felt like a different language altogether. I remember sitting at a dinner table, my heart racing. I could feel my palms getting sweaty. Every time someone turned to ask me a question, my brain would just freeze. I was so afraid of looking incompetent or missing a nuance that I actually stopped processing the words. I was physically there, but mentally, I had checked out.
That sounds exactly like what our learners describe. It's that brain freeze moment. You're so focused on not failing that you actually guarantee the failure. What was going on in your head during that dinner?
I was experiencing what linguists call the affective filter. This is a concept developed by Stephen Krashen, and it's crucial for anyone learning a language. Think of it as an invisible wall. When you are stressed, anxious, or lack self-confidence, this wall, the filter, goes up. Even if the information is hitting your ears, the filter prevents it from reaching the parts of your brain that process language. In that London restaurant, my affective filter was 10 feet tall and made of solid concrete. I wasn't hearing fast English. I was hearing my own anxiety translated into noise.
The affective filter. That is a game changer. So if our listeners feel like they can't understand a fast speaker, it might not be because the speaker is too fast, but because their own internal wall is too high. That is so liberating to hear. But Julian, how did you break that wall down? How did you get back into the conversation?
I had to give myself permission to be imperfect. I realized that if I missed 20% of the conversation, I still had 80% to work with. I decided to stop trying to translate every single word, and instead I started looking for the emotional anchors in their speech. When you listen to someone speaking fast, don't look for the nouns and verbs first. Look for the intent. Are they excited? Are they complaining? Are they asking for an opinion? Once I identified the vibe of the sentence, the words started to unlock themselves. I also used a technique I call active echoing. In my mind, I would repeat the last 3 words the person said, not to translate them, but just to keep my brain's audio engine running.
Active echoing. I love that. It's like keeping the car engine idling so you're ready to drive when the light turns green. Now, as we move into more complex territory, let's look at some B2 level structures that fast speakers love to use. They often use reduced relative clauses or phrasal verbs in clusters. For example, instead of saying, the man who is sitting over there, they say, the man sitting over there. Or they might say, I'll catch up with you, instead of, I will talk to you later. Julian, why do these shortcuts make it so hard for us?
Because your brain is looking for the formal markers of a sentence. You're looking for who, is, and which. But fast speakers discard those markers because they are low-information words. To understand fast English, you have to become comfortable with the missing words. You have to develop a sense of linguistic intuition. This only happens when you lower that affective filter. You have to tell yourself, it's okay if I don't get everything. I am here to connect, not to pass a test. When I finally relaxed at that dinner in London, I suddenly realized I almost understood everything. The Scottish accent didn't change, the speed didn't change. I changed.
That is so profound. It's about the shift from performing to connecting. Listeners, take a deep breath. If you are struggling today, it's just your filter acting up. It's not your intelligence, it's just your brain trying to protect you. Julian, this storytelling is so rich. I feel like I was there at that dinner with you. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we are going to level up to C1 and give you a real challenge to practice this week. And we are back. If you've stayed with us this far, give yourself a pat on the back. We are moving into the C1 territory now, the realm of true mastery. Julian, for those who are already quite fluent but still feel that stumble when a speaker is particularly eloquent, or perhaps a bit too colloquial, what is the missing piece of the puzzle? Is it just more vocabulary, or is it something deeper?
At this level, Luna, it's rarely about the dictionary. It's about discernment. A C1 listener doesn't just hear the words, they hear the implications. Fast, sophisticated speakers often use what we call social shorthand. They rely on cultural metaphors, sarcasm, or subtle shifts in tone that happen in a fraction of a second. If you're still trying to translate literally, you're going to miss the entire subtext. You have to stop being a translator and start being an interpreter of intent.
That makes so much sense. It's like the difference between reading a technical manual and reading a piece of high-level poetry. The speed isn't just about the rate of speech, it's about the density of ideas. Julian, you mentioned a word that I want to highlight as our golden word for today, discernment. Can you break that down for us?
With pleasure. Discernment is the ability to judge well. It's the quality of being able to grasp and comprehend what is obscure. In the context of listening, it's the skill of separating the noise from the nuance. A fast speaker might throw out a lot of filler words, you know, like, basically, and a discerning listener knows exactly which parts to ignore so they can focus on the core argument. It's about surgical precision in your listening habits.
Surgical precision. I love that. Okay, listeners, it's time for our community challenge. This week, I want you to find a short clip, maybe 60 seconds, of a very fast native speaker. Don't try to write down the words. Instead, I want you to practice selective ignoring. Focus only on the stressed syllables and the speaker's facial expressions. Then I want you to describe the vibe of the conversation in our community group using our golden word, discernment. Did you use your discernment to find the hidden meaning?
That's a brilliant challenge, Luna. By focusing on the vibe rather than the syntax, you bypass that affective filter we talked about earlier. You're training your brain to prioritize meaning over mechanics. It's a sophisticated shift, but it's exactly what separates a good speaker from an exceptional one. Remember, the goal isn't to be a human tape recorder, it's to be a human connection.
All right, everyone, it's time for our word tour. Let's lock in these 5 power terms we've explored today to make sure they stick in your long-term memory. Julian, are you ready to hit 'em with the definitions?
I'm ready, Luna. Let's do it.
Number 1, cognitive overload.
That's when your brain simply stops processing because there's too much incoming data. Like trying to drink from a fire hose, your mind just shuts down to protect itself.
Number 2, connected speech.
The hug between words. I am going to becomes I'm gonna. It is the rhythmic blending that creates the natural music of English.
Number 3, grasp.
To firmly understand or seize a concept. For example, once I understood the rhythm, I could finally grasp the meaning of the lecture.
Number 4, affective filter.
The emotional wall. When you are nervous or anxious, your filter goes up and the language cannot get in.
And our golden word, number 5, discernment.
The refined skill of judging well. It's using your intuition to find the true intent in a sea of fast-moving words.
Julian, thank you so much for joining us today. This conversation was truly transformative, not just for our listeners, but for me as well. You've turned a scary topic into something beautiful.
It was a sincere pleasure, Luna. My final advice to everyone listening? Don't let the speed of the world silence your own inner voice. Keep listening with your heart, not just your ears. You've got this.
What a powerful way to end. Family, if this episode helped you lower your affective filter today, please share it with a friend who needs a confidence boost. Subscribe to Speak English with Luna for more deep dives into the psychology of success. Go out there, use your discernment, and remember, you are already more fluent than you think. Keep speaking, keep dreaming, and I'll see you in the next episode.